can you make a lot of money by living and working in the United Kingdom? That's what we're going to take a look at today. But bear in mind that what I'm discussing here are just averages. So I'm going to start off with the actual salary.
So in this example, we're going to work with averages. So in my quick search here, average salary in the UK, it came up with 34,963. So let's really work out how much is your take home. So we're going to round off to 35,000 here, and this is yearly. If we click on continue, we are now going to say no, continue. And then over here, you can see that we have our gross income of 35,000 a year. So let's go ahead now and calculate your take home pay. Now I'm using the official website, the hmrc.gov.uk. So I'm going to click on calculate. So for this gross income, your take home is going to be 28,721 per year. So these are all the deductions. Okay, so now let's come over here to monthly because that makes it easier for us to work out. So every month you have about 2,393. So again, let's round this off to 2,400.
Okay, so now that we have our baseline, we are going to work with the 2,400 per month. This is the amount of money that you earn per month take home. Now let's go into the expenses, but bear in mind that this amount here, sometimes some people get less than this, 2,400 a month. Some also get higher than this. It only depends on where you live and also your career. All right, so let's start off with the 2,400. So from there, your first expense we want to subtract from that is your rent. And we are using a very generous amount here of 800. So 800 is going to be your rent. Now, if you have a mortgage, well, that's about the same amount. I mean, I don't have a mortgage, so I'm not sure. Maybe you can correct me in the comments box below. So we're averaging at about 1,000 per month for your mortgage. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, let's work with the rentals. So 800 is your rent, and now you're left with 1,600 from 2,400. Okay, so from the 1,600, your next expense is the council tax. So again, I'm using £100 here, but sometimes you can get to up to about 150. So let's work with 100. So after paying your council tax, you're left with 1,500. Your next expense is gas and electric. So this again, let's work with about 200 per month, and that brings us down to 1,300. Next, let's take a look at the food itself. So from 1,300, if we take 500 for the food the whole month, you're left now with 800. So I know you'll be thinking, well, 500 for food is a lot of money. Well, not really, because I'm not just talking about food to eat. So you're left with 800. Your next expense is going to be your water bill, which is about £30, and now you're down to 770. Next is your internet. Of course, you want to be connected, you want to be able to search online, communicate, and all of that. And again, it's about $40. I mean, mine is about 60 for a much decent speed, but $40 is okay. And now you're down to 730. You can see the amount is going down super fast. Okay, so with 730, now let's go to our phone bill. So the phone bill, just for the airtime bill, it can be about $30. Sorry, I keep on saying dollars. Okay, it's £30. So £30 is your contract, and that is just your airtime bill. Okay, that excludes the phone. So if you're going to go for an iPhone, especially the latest one, you'll be paying about £70 per month. But let's just go with the £30 per month for phone bill. And like I say, there's no iPhone there. There's no latest Samsung Galaxy. That's just your SIM card. Okay. All right. So now that we have that, we're left with 700. So from that 700, if we take away the car insurance, okay, car insurance is very important. You can't be driving without car insurance. It's very, very dangerous. I mean, you can get into big trouble. Okay, so the car insurance, let's say about 200. Now you're left with 500. Now let's go to our fuel. So the car obviously needs fuel. If we take away another, say, 200, now you're left with 300. Okay, so as you can see, the money is going down super fast. Okay, we're down to 300 now. On the fuel, you can say, oh, maybe that's a bit too much. But again, we're working with averages here because sometimes maybe you have school runs or you're going back and forth to work and it's quite far, or you have double shifts, you name it. Okay, that's where the 200 fuel is. So we're left now with 300. Okay, you're also going to need a bit of clothing. Okay. Okay, so if you're someone who's just buying basic stuff, then you could go with about $100 per month, because as seasons change, you're going to be wearing warmer clothes, or you're going to need jackets and so on. But I'm averaging it out at 100. Now you're left with $200 from 2,400. Okay, so the 200 you're left with now. Let's add in car maintenance, miscellaneous things. Something goes wrong with your car, maybe you need to fix the clutch, or something goes wrong. The 200 is where it's going to go. And with all these things I've spoken about, there's no Netflix, there's no holidays, there's no restaurants, no eating out, there's no haircuts. So if you add those things, automatically now you're in the red. You're in minus. So one is asking, well, can you really be more frugal with the expenditure here? Of course you can. But this is where now you're going to start living a very miserable life, because in the UK, most of the time we spend our time working. Okay? So sometimes you need to relax. So, yes, you can try and be frugal in certain areas, like, for example, the rent. You can go and live in a very not so good area. But again, it's not very inspiring. So with this now, the question, is it worth it? So there's two ways to look at this. If you're going to the UK thinking you are going to make a lot of money, you're going to come back to Africa or Zimbabwe, buy yourself a stand, build yourself a house, not going to happen with this. And remember, this is the average, 2,400 per month. And like I said, if you're just entering the UK like today, you're not going to be earning that kind of money unless you are an engineer, you're a doctor, those kind of areas. But I'm just talking about average here. So the question is it worth it? Like I said, there's two ways to look at it. Let's say you were living here in Africa or Zimbabwe, and you were living in an area which is not so nice. So that area, maybe the electricity goes, there's no running water. Yeah, the environment is just bad. If you go to the UK, I would say it's more like an upgrade. Okay, because there, although you're paying all these things, you're just paying to live there. Okay, you're just paying, or you're just working to live there. So the environment change can be a positive thing, because there are also some good things there in the United Kingdom. You get a lot of exposure. You can also, if you're smart, look at other opportunities of making money, and different culture, different environment. But if you're someone who is going to the United Kingdom thinking you are going to go there, work for 6 months or work for a year, come back here, buy a house, not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Let's base this not from emotions, but from the figures themselves. It's not going to happen. So let's say you increase your income. Now you're earning double that. Chances are you're going to upgrade your lifestyle, because imagine earning, let's say husband and wife or partners, you're now earning 4,800. Do you really want to live in a messed up area in the United Kingdom where there's a lot of crime and it's dirty and all of that? Trust me, those areas are there. Maybe not. So now you want to move into a nice area. Maybe you want to live in Edgbaston, Solihull, if you live in Birmingham. Those are the nicer areas. Now, those areas, the rent pretty much goes much, much higher. Okay? You want to upgrade your car. You want to drive maybe a car on finance. And chances are you're going to go for a newer car. You're going to be paying a lot more for that car. Maybe $300, $400, $500, $600 per month. I remember my coach used to pay $600 for a Range Rover. Finance. Was it finance? Yeah, finance. So you start upgrading things. Your kids now are going to need PlayStation. You're going to need an iPhone, whatever the latest is. Your partner needs the same phone as well. The kids need the same phone. Maybe the kids want to go to private schools. So it cancels everything out. So in the end, even though your salary is high, your lifestyle is going to change, which means pretty much you're going to be left with no money. So what you've just done is upgraded your lifestyle. So again, it's a bit of a tricky one, because if you're coming here, even if you're living, say, Africa or Zimbabwe with a decent house, you have a stand. Quite a few people I've heard, they're actually selling their houses to go to the United Kingdom. That's a no-no. Of course, anyone can do whatever they want to do. But for me, if you're going there thinking you're going to make more money and then you're going to buy that house in a few years after working in the United Kingdom, based on this, it's not going to happen. So let's talk about how a lot of people are really flashy, especially people in the diaspora. Now, after doing these calculations, and you can see the expenditure here, you're probably going to be thinking, well, how are people driving these nice cars? How are they going on holiday to Spain, to Italy, to, wherever they go? Well, it's very clear. According to this, they don't have money. So the holidays now, what happens is there's a lot of credit cards that you can take. because if you have a decent job, you can apply for credit cards, you can apply for loans. So this is where now people are able to go on holiday. If they're driving very nice cars, these cars are on finance, or they take loans to buy these cars. So it gives you now an illusion of, wow, okay, this person is living in a very amazing life in the United Kingdom, and it makes people who live back over here in Africa look at them thinking, wow, that is amazing, that is fantastic. So whatever you say to anyone who wants to go and work abroad, they are going to see you as someone who's lying, because you haven't really broken down this. Now, just imagine this. I mean, and I also understand the psychology behind it. Imagine someone who's earning, like here in Zimbabwe, I think the average salary is about 600 US dollars. Okay. Now, that person's way of thinking is 600 in Zimbabwe, the economy is bad, blah, 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 blah. If I earn 2,400 in the United Kingdom, that's going to be much better. But what you're failing to realize here is the 2,400 is your take home, but it has a lot of expenses. The quality of life and the expenses are much, much higher in the United Kingdom. So this is a matter of preference. If you want to go and live in the United Kingdom, upgrade your lifestyle, then of course this will work for you. You know, life will be much, much better if you were living in a not so good environment here. But this is not an opportunity where you can say, I'm going to the United Kingdom. If I work in a few months, I'm going to come back here, buy a house. It doesn't work like that. So it may seem like I'm discouraging people from going to the United Kingdom, but actually I'm not. This is a matter of choice. Because if you go there, you know, and you're open-minded, you're smart, you're willing to think outside the box, that can be a stepping stone for creating something amazing once you're over there. Because there's a lot more opportunities there, and there's better ways of doing things, even in terms of business. You can take notes and apply all of that, you know, back over here when you return. But in terms of just, oh, United Kingdom has money, no, not really. Now, there's also another bracket of people who have probably, let's say, lived in the United Kingdom for 20 years or 25 years. These guys have worked their way up. If, let's say, for example, they're working for a company or they're working in the NHS, they've probably taken some courses. So they have started off as a nurse, mental health nurse, whatever it is. They could start, you know, studying, doing a degree, doing a master's degree in whatever field, in the medicine field. These guys can end up earning quite a lot of money eventually. So, and also if we take a look at, let's say, someone who goes there, you want to study, going to engineering, and that's a field which is on demand. Again, you can end up making quite a lot of money over the years. You can be promoted at work, you know, you can increase your salary and so on. So it just depends which way you take it. But you have to consider all these things when you are thinking of going to the United Kingdom. It's not as easy as what a lot of people may think. So overall, of course, it's down to, you know, your choice, whether you want to go or not. But I hope this video will help you, give you an idea of what to expect, you know, when you get there. It's very easy for someone to, let's say, for example, look at me personally and say, well, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that you went to the United Kingdom, you wouldn't have bought a house, or you wouldn't have the farm you have. Well, yes, I mean, partly it's correct, but I had some circumstances which were quite crazy because, and I think some of you may resonate with this. When I went to the United Kingdom, I was, how old was I? I think 22, I think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 22. I just recently got married. So before I left, of course, I was living with my parents. I just left school. I worked for about a year or two, still living with my parents. So when I got married and I started having kids, you can imagine if I were to say, let me just go back home, it was going to be a bit difficult because it meant me coming back home to live with my parents, with my wife and my kids. And that's a no-no. So in a way, I was stuck. Okay, I was stuck in the United Kingdom. Even though I hated the work that I was doing in the first 10 years, I hated it so much, but I just had to pull through because the option of coming back home to live with my parents was a no-no. That was a no-no. I mean, you can imagine how we are as a culture here in Zimbabwe. People are expecting you to be making a lot of money in the United Kingdom, and now here you are coming back to live with your parents. It doesn't really work out. My eyes are becoming watery. I think I'm getting hay fever. It's weird. Anyway, so that was my situation. Coming back home with the kids, that was a no-no. So we just had to struggle on, you know, and it was tough. And now I know in my case, I've said this story before, what really changed my life in the United Kingdom was me setting up my online business. That's really what changed my life over there. If I was working on a proper salary like what we're discussing here, I would have not really bought what I've bought here, because when you're in the United Kingdom and you have kids, they need a lifestyle too, they need exposure, so you're spending on your children there. There is no time to save money or invest in anything, because the money is just being spent there. And the United Kingdom is an economy where it's meant to make people spend money. It's crazy. You are just spending, because if you really look at it, a lot of the products you buy, they're just upgrades sometimes that you don't even need. So sometimes you see you have an iPhone, let's say 14 Pro Max. Within a year, there's an iPhone 15. And the changes are so subtle, but people are buying them because they want to look like, they have the latest thing, because what makes someone look like they are rich is the material things. So it's very hard to hide from that, or to keep yourself away from that, unless you have a lot of discipline. So that's the challenge that you have in the UK. You're going to end up spending. Even if you take a look at the British themselves, or even Zimbabweans, you will find that a lot of people are driving all these brand new Range Rovers, BMWs, you name it. But that will just make you appear to be rich. But for me, I cringe when I see that type of stuff, because there's retirement coming through. What's going to happen in retirement? How are you going to live in retirement with so much debt? But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Debt. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. I would like to hear your comments, your points, because this is obviously a topic which a lot of people talk about, but some lie and some are afraid to really tackle this topic. So let's discuss in the comments box below. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.